Hi, I'm AC Brown, Psychic Channel and Voice of Truth, and welcome back to my channel. Make sure you share, like, and subscribe this video. Today we are talking about 5 things you need to know about Universal Year 6 or 2022. Now, we currently, as you're watching this video, are in a Universal Year 5, and each year has a theme, an overall energy. And I want to talk about 5 things you need to know about Universal Year 6 that are going to be helpful for you to have a wonderful year when it comes to your love, life, and your career. Okay? So overall, the energy that we are operating in right now, Universal Year 5, you probably have felt it been probably a little bit adventurous, maybe a little bit all over the place, or as I like to say, the Universal Year 5 was a year of sex, drugs, and rock and roll, meaning that there were a lot of just variables that we just didn't know about. I'm sure everyone felt the energy of things going really well and then things not going well and then things changing, all of that stuff. But Universal Year 6 is going to be very different. And I want to give you 5 things you need to know about Universal Year 6 that will help you on your journey as you start planning strategically for the new year and why it's important. So first things first, number 1, Venus rules. The planet Venus is going to have a very solid energy. 6, or the number 6, is ruled by the planet Venus. Now, Venus entails lots of things. Of course, love, beauty, aesthetics, but it also is about relations and relationships and your relationship to value, your relationship to money. Venus also rules the 2nd house in your astrology natal chart and the 2nd house of Taurus. And it also rules the 7th house of Libra. So when we think about both of those houses, when we talk about the number 6 and 6 being ruled by Venus, the 2nd house of money, material things, making and spending money, and also self-worth. And then you have the 7th house. And the 7th house is about long-term relationships and marriage and business partnerships, and can be about like getting out of the habit. What I want you to think about, is getting out of the habit when you think about the 7th house is just romantic relationships and partnerships. Think about the relationships you have to people, to things, or your relationship to wealth, your relationship to greed, your relationship to your friend, your relationship to anything that you can think of having a relationship to. And there might also be some power struggles within those relationships. So that's number 1. What you should definitely be focusing on is your relationships to money, relationships to value, relationships to people, or your relationship to maybe things that you might not necessarily I don't want to say feel good about, but that you might struggle with. So, or your relationship to yourself is another key thing that the Universal Year 6 is going to bring attention to. The second thing that the Universal Year is going to bring attention to is learning how to receive. Okay, so the Universal Year 6 has a big influence on what unconditional love means. Okay. And it's often said that in Universal Year 6, you could find your soulmate, or you can realize that someone is your soulmate, because you will find that in Universal Year 6, people are more likely to be more vulnerable. So I won't go into it in this video, but the Universal Year 6, or the number 6, is also about foundations and the foundations that we have, and sometimes shaking those foundations up and making us see what is valuable to us. So that's number 2, learning how to receive. Number 3 are your family ties. Now, we don't have to think about family as blood, but more thinking about family of who is part of your family and what role do they play in your life, okay? Family is just not blood, so it can be friendships, it can be coworkers, it can be business associates, but family is going to be a big theme. So you need to know how you want your family to play a role in your life during the universal year 6, or what might be happening, especially in this universal year 5. You are starting to see maybe the truth, or the seeing the, getting down to the nitty gritty of who's for you and who's against you. And I hate to put that sort of perspective into play, but you're starting to have a clear picture based off of Universal 5. So Universal 5 and all of its craziness of sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and all of these things that have happened throughout the year, these, just all of this kind of, how can I put this? Things seem like they were going good and then something happens, all of that stuff. You probably got to see people's true colors during this year, or to see your truth and what you want and how you want people to feel or associate with you. So your family ties are going to be a major theme next year as well. Number 4, as far as the 5 things you need to know about Universal Year 6 or 2022 is your home life. And thinking about moving to plant seeds in a new location, that might be a thing. Thinking about staying in your current location to plant seeds might be a thing. The Universal Year 6 is perfect for that. It's perfect for you figuring out where your foundations are, especially in your home life. So maybe it's your apartment, or maybe it's your house, or maybe it's your roommates, or however your living situation is, and you want to reevaluate that and find something new or move to a different location. The Universal Year is perfect for that. Or even making your home feel new, wanting to redo your home. If you want to do that, that's a good idea. Your home life during the Universal Year 6 is going to be about merging the spiritual side with the creative side. So just know that it's time for you to merge your beliefs and your creativity together, especially when it comes to your home life. As we know from being at home last year in 2020, and even some of this year, your home life is a lot more, it's a lot more serious because we're at home more now. And I think that's going to be a bigger trend, even though outside is technically open and we will be going places, but we also want to make sure that our home life is really great. Okay. So number 5 in the 5 things that you need to know about Universal Year number 6. So number 5, your goals. Now, I don't want anyone to be, scared when I say what I'm going to say, or to feel like, well, I don't have goals, AC, or my goals have changed. That's great. So Universal Year 6 is going to be perfect for the execution of goals. So the seeds that you plant in Universal Year 6 will bloom over the next few years, but you must be committed. So that's why it's really important for you to be clear about what you're trying to do and what you're trying to accomplish. Unlike this year, Universal Year 6 is not going to have too much movement as far as, I'm going to change my mind today and then tomorrow things are going to be different. Universal Year 6 really supports the individual with picking a goal and sticking to it, and has that supportive nature. As you can see from Universal Year 5, if you did have goals, your goals probably change very quick and rapidly during the Universal Year 5, during 2021. That's what the year just gives you: sex, drugs, and rock and roll. So Universal Year 6 is going to be a little bit of a different pace. The trajectory or moving to a new goal or something new is not going to be as swift and fluid as it was this year for you to do it. So I don't want to scare you and say you must know what you're doing, but at least have an idea around what it can be for you for Universal Year 6. And I like to say, especially in a 6-year or 6 personal year or 6 universal year, and we'll talk about personal years later, is that you want to make sure that you have somewhat, you want to keep your eyes on some type of prize for the universal year 6 because the energies support that. So let's just recap what we talked about. So we talked about Venus ruling the year. Remember, Venus, love, money, your relationship to money, all of that, aesthetics, beauty, all of those things, and your relationships to people, to yourself, all of that. Number 2, you're going to need to learn how to receive, and what does receiving mean to you? Number 3, your family ties. How are your family ties going to be? What does that mean for you? Number 4, your home life. How is that home life going to be? What do you want that home life to look like? And also that home life must be something that you desire. And then last but not least, setting goals that excite you. So set some goals that excite you. And these goals don't have to be major. Maybe it's for you to, get the ultimate skin and you don't have to wear foundation. Or maybe it's you to just walk, 10 miles a day. I mean, that sounds like a lot, but maybe that's what the goal is. So don't think about goals as like, oh, I have to rule the world by next week. Your goals can be a little bit smaller. They can be a little bit just personal to you. So those are the top 5 things that you need to know about Universal Year 6 or 2022. Make sure you join me next week as we dive deeper into this. So make sure you share, like, and subscribe to this video, and also leave a comment below for which one of these 5 things that you plan on tackling for Universal Year 6.